Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. If I'm being completely, totally honest with you guys, there's not a ton to talk about this week. Not only are the strikes affecting delays and delaying movies and whatnot, it's also affecting the amount of news that's coming out. At least that's what it seems like. But either way, we'll talk through everything, and I'm also bringing back a segment that I haven't done in a while where it's what I've been watching this week. So, we're here. We're still here. Don't worry. We ain't going nowhere. All right, first story. We got, oh God, I should have formatted this before I started. But you know what? We're doing it now. No cuts. No cuts, okay? This is gonna be terrible. Okay, okay, Rebel Moon. We got our first official teaser trailer for Rebel Moon. I think that this movie looks cool, but I don't know that it really. I mean, it is very much a teaser trailer. It didn't really give us a ton of like what the story's gonna be, so I can't say that I'm like over the moon excited about it. Over the Rebel Moon, but it looks cool. It is obviously inspired by Star Wars. You got the lightsabers, the ships, and all of that. But it also does look like its own thing. It looks like it's gonna embrace some fantasy elements a bit more than we've ever seen Star Wars embrace, with like kings and queens and whatnot, and like the crowns on those kings and queens. So I don't know. It looks neat. I'm open to seeing more. They also did announce that that we're getting part 1 in December, and then of 2023, and then part 2 in like March of 2024. So that is pretty cool that Netflix is sort of almost treating this like these two movies like Stranger Things Part 1 and 2. Remember when they did that? It's kind of an interesting release strategy. They also announced they officially announced that they're doing like a game, although it looks like it's going to be a shitty mobile game, so I don't think we can get too excited about that. But yeah, Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder fans are excited, and I'm excited that you're excited, and I'm interested, so we'll leave it there. All right, first story of the day. Taika Waititi has made some comments about a potential Thor 5. Let's see what he said. It's come from CBR. In Titan's upcoming Thor Love and Thunder, the official movie special book, Waititi shared his thoughts on a potential Thor 5. What is left to do with Thor? It's got to be something that feels like it's carrying on with the evolution of the character, but still in a very fun way, and still giving him things to come up against that feel like they're building on the obstacles that he has to overcome, Waititi said. I don't think we can have a villain that's weaker than Hela. I feel like we need to step up from there and add a villain that's somehow more formidable. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've seen a bunch of people like being like, oh no, Taika Waititi's coming back. The switch up on Taika Waititi is crazy. You can't lie to me. I was there when Thor Ragnarok came out. I know how much you guys loved Thor Ragnarok. Also, dude's directed movies like Jojo Rabbit and What We Do in the Shadows. It's like, the switch up on Taika Waititi's insane. And I'm in a weird position where I've actually been pretty consistent that I wasn't like a huge fan of the wacky, funny Thor, because I wasn't a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok when that movie came out. Although I will say I am in the vast minority in that I actually prefer Thor Love and Thunder to Thor Ragnarok. I do think that I felt more invested in like the Jane having cancer storyline and Thor, and Thor having to deal with that. That was more. I was more invested in that than whatever the hell was going on in Thor Ragnarok. So I actually prefer Love and Thunder to Thor Ragnarok, but the switch up on Taika is insane. I will also say that this is not by any means Taika Waititi confirming that he's coming back to do a Thor 5, or even that a Thor 5 is happening. It's literally just him talking about what he would potentially do in a Thor 5. So, honestly, I wouldn't take too much stock in what he's saying, like, oh, there's going to be a villain more powerful than Hela, what are even power balances in the MCU at this point? Who even knows? So I don't want to take too much stock in what he said. He honestly didn't even reveal much. I would take more stock in what Chris Hemsworth has said in the past, where he has said that if he were to come back as Thor, it would have to be a reinvention, like Ragnarok was a reinvention. So my guess is that if there is a Thor 5, either they would have to get another director, or Taika would actually have to come in and do something special with it. So either way, I wouldn't worry about it, because I think if we do get a Thor 5, it'll probably be different from what Taika has been doing. So we'll see. We also have a release year for the new Amazon Prime Fallout show. So they put out a tweet. It says, Vault 33, location Los Angeles, Fallout and original series coming to Prime Video in 2024. So I am not a Fallout fan. Is Vault 33, it being in Los Angeles, is that I guess, has that ever shown up in the games? Do you ever play in Los Angeles in any of the games? Or is this location sort of making it its own thing separate from the games? That's a question that I have for Fallout fans, because I have no idea, and I didn't bother researching it, because why would I do that when I could just ask you, the viewer, get you involved, to comment on the video, and boost the algorithm of it? I may be shameless, but at least I'm honest about it. Anyways, I don't know really how to feel about the Fallout show, just because I've never played a Fallout game, so I don't know if it's something that would lend itself to TV, or if this is bizarre that this is even happening. I really have no idea. Although what I do know is that it is a Bethesda RPG, so story is a big part of it. So who knows? Maybe it will lend itself. All right, next story. Echo is apparently not delayed. So this is coming from TV Line. So this is an article where readers would send in questions to TV Line, and then the author would answer them. So that's why it's sort of formatted like this. I read somewhere that Echo is no longer coming out this year. Can you confirm? Dale. There was rampant don't bother to pick up a phone speculation about the Hawkeye offshoot's fate when it was not included among key upcoming Disney Plus releases on an earnings call chart that was, mind you, clearly labeled not exhaustive. But I am told that its November 29th binge-style drop date remains unchanged as of press time. So yeah, I'm getting called out there, because I definitely reported on the fact that I had seen that there was a calendar at an investor's presentation where Disney did not include Echo. So I was like, oh no, is it being delayed? Although I'm pretty sure I said at the time that it's not an official announcement or anything. So I don't know. I'd like to think that I covered my bases properly. But this guy's saying that his sources are telling him that it is in fact not delayed, at least as of the time that he put out that article. So I guess I can buy that if it wasn't an exhaustive listing of programming, that maybe they just didn't consider Echo as being something that would excite the investors, which I guess is fair. I'm trying to think. Maybe I'm sure I Am Groot wasn't on there either. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Echo is either way you slice it, well, I would say this: if Echo is good, I could maybe understand pushing it out, because with the strikes, you maybe want to sort of extend the amount of content that you have out a bit, so that so that you delay sort of that period of just nothingness that we're probably going to get to at some point. If Echo is bad though, you got to get it out. Just put it out, or dump it like Batgirl, because the MCU truly is at a point where bad projects are going to severely damage the brand. So I mean, they have to. They either have to, if this is bad, they just got to put it out, or can it, like Batgirl. So we'll see what happens. I hope it's good. I feel like there's potential to this character. Like a deaf superhero, that could be cool. That could be really interesting. I don't know if I'm assuming the show is gonna lean into her being Native American. There's totally some cool stuff that you could do with that as well. So I want this to be good because it's like I don't want anything that I watch to be bad. So I don't know why I started getting into that whole spiel, but I did, and I guess I'm not cutting it out. So next story, Dune Part 2, Electric Boogaloo has been delayed. It's coming from Variety. Dune Part 2 has been delayed to 2024. The story of Paul Atreides, played by Timothy Chalamet, will be continued on March 15th. As part of the shift, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, which was previously dated for March 14th, is getting pushed to 1 month to April 12th. The film is also produced by Legendary and Warner Brothers and is the latest entry in the MonsterVerse franchise. The Dune delay comes as the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes continue to drag on. Due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, actors may not do press for any struck films, which would have meant the star-studded Dune cast would not have been on the press circuit for the big budget film. So, yeah, it does seem to be the case that the primary reason for the delay is that they want Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya and Florence Pugh and whoever else is in this movie. There are a lot. It is a star-studded cast. Because they can't, due to the strikes, they can't go and be in press interviews. They can't go on Hot Ones and all of that jazz. So I get it. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too excited for this movie either way. Was not a huge fan of the first Dune. The first Dune really felt like a movie that was made for people that already knows the lore, and I was just kind of watching it like, oh, I don't really understand what's happening here. I didn't get attached to any of the characters. It was just kind of a dull movie. But the second one does look a lot better. The story seems a bit more clear as to what's happening. So I am interested, but I will have to be interested in 2024. So my condolences to all of you Dune heads. Pressure the studios to pay their actors fairly, and this wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. All right, last story. James Gunn, he basically in a joking manner confirmed a DCU timeline, but in confirming that, he made things just more complicated, so let's get into what I mean. Per the Direct, Gunn was asked by a fan on Instagram about whether the DCU will have a chronology posted somewhere that fans can access. Much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline order section on Disney+, the DC head responded, yes, here. Number 1, Creature Commandos. Number 2, Superman Legacy. Nothing else is finished being written yet and won't be until after the strike. James, I don't know if you noticed this, but you did not include projects that you have said are going to lead into DCU projects. He didn't include Peacemaker Season 1, and he didn't include Blue Beetle. He has said that we are going to get a Peacemaker Season 2, and that Viola Davis's Amanda Waller is going to get a Waller series on HBO Max. He's also said that Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, played by Xolo Maridueña, is going to continue into the DCU. What does this mean? Now, maybe, just maybe, we can't really take in his Instagram posts too seriously. So maybe it ends up being the case that that this just isn't an official thing, or maybe it's going to end up being the case, something that I've maybe been suggesting, and that maybe all of the stuff that's in the DCU utilizing those characters are sort of like different in a multiverse sense. Like those aren't exactly canon to the DCU. It's like the DCU iterations of those characters are just going to be variants that are played by the same actors that are very similar but are not exactly those characters. Maybe? kind of like what we're potentially seeing with Charlie Cox as Daredevil in the MCU. Like that might not exactly be the same exact Charlie Cox as we saw in the Netflix show. Very much like how the J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson that we've seen in Far From Home and in No Way Home. That is not the same exact J. Jonah Jameson that we saw in the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Maybe it's a situation like that. Either way, it is confusing. James Gunn will go from one day being like, go watch Blue Beetle and celebrate Jaime Reyes, the first character in the new DCU or whatever, or he'll say something like, watch Jolo Mariduena as Jaime Reyes, as we will see him continue in the DCU. Like he'll go one day saying stuff like that, and then the next day he'll make a timeline that doesn't include Blue Beetle. So honestly, James Gunn's communication on this has been absolutely just confusing, to say the least. So we really are just gonna have to wait and see how this all plays out. But man, I really just want Aquaman to be out so that we can just get past the DCEU and just only be getting DCU content, so that maybe all of this can be explained away. So anyways, that's it for the stories that we have. Like I said, we didn't have a ton to talk about, but we still have some other stuff to get through because I have been watching content this week. So first of all, I finished Star Wars Rebels. I was watching Star Wars Rebels. Well, I was watching it as a part of, because I've been doing like this chronological Star Wars watch through where like I'll watch the prequels, and then like before episodes 2 and 3, I watched Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Then I watched episode 3. Then I think the order I went was I watched episode 3, then I watched The Bad Batch, then I want to say I played Jedi Survivor. Then I watched the Han Solo movie. Then I watched Star Wars Rebels. I think that's the order of events that I went through. Yeah, and then most recently, I really just started binging Star Wars Rebels because I did want to watch that before I watched Ahsoka. So, either way, I watched the Rebels, and it's really good. I do think it's better than the Clone Wars, if anything, because I think there are less filler side quest episodes than the Clone Wars had. Because listen, there was some good stuff to the Clone Wars. Don't get me wrong. Way too much of that show is filler side content that I just was not interested in. Especially like the last 2 seasons of Rebels, it's just pretty solid. So really enjoyed myself watching Rebels. Definitely recommend it before watching Ahsoka. Let's get into Ahsoka now. Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2. I really enjoyed this as well. I definitely think that watching Rebels enhances my enjoyment. I got to soy face. Oh look, it's the animated character in real life. Would you look at that? So I definitely was able to do that. But it also just feels like good, solid Star Wars, you know? It's not the high level storytelling of Andor, you know? It's nowhere near as good as Andor, but it is significantly better than like Obi-Wan and the Book of Boba Fett, and even Mandalorian season 3, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, I'm totally in on this. This is good, fun Star Wars. And do you need to watch Rebels before watching it? I don't necessarily think you do. It's one of those things where, if you really think about it, every time you watch a movie or you watch a TV show, you are picking up with certain characters before they, or you're picking up with these characters at a certain point in their lives. You don't know their backstory. You haven't watched a bunch of origin movies of them as a baby and them as a teenager and them as an adult. So it's like, yes, is there a bunch of context from Rebels that you can have? Absolutely. But I think the show does a good job of setting up the story that it's telling, and I think you can still follow it. And by the way, there's plenty of stuff in here that even as a Rebels fan, you didn't see any of that. Like Ahsoka being or Sabine being Ahsoka's Padawan. It's literally never shown to us in Rebels. They've never even hinted at Sabine being force sensitive or anything. Although that's kind of a debate as to whether or not she even is force sensitive in Ahsoka. It's literally never teased to us. So there's plenty of stuff in here that even we're in the dark on. So if you haven't seen Rebels and you're like, I don't want to watch the cartoon in order to get ready for Ahsoka, I get it. I don't think you have to. So I think it's solid. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I also watched Harley Quinn Season 4, Episode 7. I really enjoyed this one. We finally get Harley and Ivy back together for an episode, and it really just reminded me of like, oh yeah, this is why I fell in love with the show. I think that's probably one of the reasons why this season hasn't been working quite as well for me, is because Ivy hasn't been together. It's just been Harley and Ivy. No Ivy. But yeah, and I thought the whole storyline of them going to a dystopian future where they meet their daughter and all of that, and I thought that was all fun. I'm also liking seeing Batgirl sort of get back in her groove a bit. And another thing from the previous episode was that I felt like Joker coming back to villainy was just a little too quick, and it felt like they just kind of ran out of stuff to do with the Joker, and that's why they kind of made him a villain again. But in this episode, we established that Joker didn't actually like kill Nightwing, and that he's just kind of taking credit for it. So it seems like maybe Joker isn't as hard as he used to be, and he isn't like quite as villainous as he really was. So that's also kind of interesting. So I'm excited to see where they're going to take the rest of this season. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about. I also watched the season finale of My Adventures with Superman, and you know what? This is a great show. I absolutely loved it. And this was a really solid season finale. I like that we see Superman sort of, he's as an element of the season, he's been grappling about who he is, why he came here, or why he was sent here, and blah blah blah. And in this episode, we see that Krypton actually was going to invade Earth when Superman was a baby, when Krypton exploded, and they were going to come through like a portal. And the only reason why Krypton did it, or why it didn't invade Earth, is because their planet exploding broke the portal through. So Earth got a remnant of the remnants of the first Kryptonian attack, and it's really interesting because we've seen all the technology that's able to actually hurt Superman, and it's because it was Kryptonian technology. So that putting this entire season into context like that has been very interesting. And yeah, no, I absolutely adore the relationship between Clark and Lois. I've said this before. It is the best on-screen relationship, TV relationship, since Pam and Jim from The Office. It is actually criminal. It is actually ludicrous how adorable they are. I know there was some people, some contingent of people that were upset by Lois's reaction to finding out that Clark is Superman, but honestly, again, this is just how I think about movies and TV shows and art. It's like I'm never gonna dislike a character because they do something that I think is wrong. So it's like, did Lois handle it the right way? No. But is that how Lois Lane in this show would have reacted to that? Would have reacted to somebody lying to her? Yeah, I do think that's how she would have reacted to it. So as long as the reaction is consistent to the character that they've set up, I'm not mad at it. I still think she's a good character. Sorry. So that's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, I still think they're adorable. Really love this iteration of Jimmy. And just the show is just it is just a really really solid one. It's the first animated Superman show in like 20 years, which is pretty wild that they've waited this long. But this one is it's fresh. It's got anime stylings and all of that. I think it's really great. I think you should check it out. Especially, I mean, if you have like a kid or something, they're gonna love this. I know it's on Adult Swim, but it's not like it's it's Adult Swim in name only. I'm pretty sure it's rated PG. So yeah, that is going to be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. We did round up all of the latest news in the world of nerdy movies. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, let me know what you think about any and all of these topics in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.